Okay, so first off, before I jump straight to the topic of the video, I'm going to actually show you the web browser included in this so-called Boyue OS. Here it is. The icon actually looks like a icon for Chrome, but it's not really Chrome, but actually, so if you open it, you can see by interface here that this is actually a very old version of the AOSP web browser. In fact, I actually saved all the preloaded bookmarks into a folder here. So basically the preloaded thumbnails and stuff seem to show the sites as they were in 2011, which leads me to believe that this is a version of the AOSP web browser that was included with either Ice Cream Sandwich or Jelly Bean, somewhere around there. And actually when I opened this, it actually had Baidu as the homepage, probably because they couldn't actually set the search provider. Like you only have like 3 options: Google, Yahoo, and Bing. So that was that. And then another thing here is that if I were to like load a website, load one of the comics I had read here before I switched to using Firefox on here. So as you can see, it will load, but now watch when you actually scroll the page here. You can kind of see like how it's like not constantly refreshing. It's like mostly smooth as I scroll here. So if I were to actually go into another web browser here, I will use Firefox Focus just for this example. No, actually no. But basically what I'm trying to tell you is that the thing with the built-in apps on this on the e-readers here, at least the Likebook devices, is that you cannot actually tap and hold to change settings for the built-in applications, but you can do so for third-party applications, as you can see. So the thing is that because with the kind of person I am, I tend to use my e-reader primarily to read comics, and most of the stuff I read are web comics, so they don't really like work right in a with the I mean basically because I can't change the settings. It seems that Boyue basically forced an A2 mode with the web browser. And hold on, let me just pause the video to check to see if there's any ghosting. Yes, there is some amount of ghosting here with the A2 mode. Of course, actually if you scroll it, actually does seem to flash after a while. But the thing is that the interface here kind of feels clunky because you can probably like open 2, 3 and then 4 tabs, and then like you have to manually scroll. I mean, of course you could use the AOSP web browser if you want, but the reason why I decided to use Firefox on this is actually because it seems to be easier on the e-reader display. Now here's what the layout is by default. By the way, I'm actually not using actual Firefox Mobile, but a modified version of it called Fennec F-Droid, which is exclusively only available on F-Droid, and it removes basically like the proprietary stuff from Firefox. So the Pocket integration is removed. Normally Mozilla tries to like kind of push users to use it, but on the desktop version of Firefox you can disable it with the hidden browser setting, but it can't really be easily done on Firefox Mobile. You have to get a modified version like this. And then another thing I did was to actually go to the Firefox add-on site, and I installed a theme called White, which I will enable here, and it actually basically turns the area behind the address bar white, so it's kind of easier on the e-reader display. But you can know that this corner here, you can just still tap that to create a new tab. Of course, the Firefox themes does not actually theme this tab overview here. Actually, if you go to the private browsing section, it's normally supposed to show like a graphic and some description here, but it doesn't. So as I was saying, and then actually if you have a private browsing tab open, the themes also don't affect that. Now another thing I would wait, what am I doing? Basically, so if I open the same website here, and this time because I do not have A2 mode turned on, I don't really get ghosting like I get. As you can see, the scrolling is much slower, but I'm totally fine with that because I usually just use the web browser to read webcomics. So basically, you couldn't actually see the ghosting on camera, but AOSP web browser, because the A2 mode was forced, I did actually see ghosting there, but I don't actually see the ghosting here. As you can see, it like just completely like reloads the image. Of course, if I turn on A2 mode, and then if I scroll, it's just like in the AOSP web browser, so that's what I mean by the A2 mode. Another thing to do here with this is to go into the Firefox settings and turn on full screen browsing. That way, when you scroll, it hides the toolbar. However, it does not hide the status bar. So that is where I'm going to get back into the home screen here. Tap and hold on Firefox and then enable full screen mode, which basically hides the status bar. So now if I go back into Firefox, and it's actually reloaded again to apply the setting, but now once it loads and I try to scroll, okay, the bar is not disappearing for some reason. I thought I turned it on. Oh, it is on. Yeah, but if I scroll, okay, I see why the bar didn't disappear, because the okay, yeah, the page hadn't fully loaded yet, but now if I scroll, as you can see, the top bar disappears. So it's a much nicer experience for reading webcomics through a web browser if that's what you wanted. So as you can see, if I just slowly drag up, boom, it's gone. I can read my comic. And then I can scroll down a little bit more and then tap on next or previous or whatever. I forgot to mention earlier that another element that makes Firefox easier on the e-reader display is that while I'm not a fan of their Photon UI, it actually seems to work around e-readers along with that white theme that I mentioned earlier. So I'm not really here to talk about webcomics. So what else do I have? Okay, so I did actually in the previous take of this video, I did try to show some extensions, but it seems that both extensions I wanted to try using probably worked in Firefox 64, but not in Firefox 65. Go to Firefox tab. Actually normally it says Mozilla Firefox. About Firefox, actually it says Fennec because basically Fennec is like the unofficial branding package for Firefox Mobile, but for the Firefox 64 they did actually use that, and then they just changed the text to Fennec F-Droid. But then it seems that for version 65 they decided to use the one for, a mix of elements for the unofficial and developer edition branding, which is interesting. But yeah, if I yeah, actually if you can't really see it by here, but yeah, there it is. It says Firefox 65. So if you want to get Fennec F-Droid for yourself instead of the regular Firefox Mobile, it is exclusively available only on F-Droid. And I'll just open the page here. Oh yeah, the page previously showed screenshots, but it's gone. Anyways, I think that's it for this video. So again, you'll probably be fine with the built-in AOSP web browser if you only really do occasional web browsing, or if you read like I can't really remember what it is I was talking about. But yeah, if you really want to read webcomics through a web browser on this thing, yeah, you have to get a third-party web browser so that you can sidestep the forced A2 mode on the AOSP browser. So that's about this video. Bye.